everyone welcome. If you're watching this, you're already participating. We'd love to have you join us. Simply send your email address to my email address listed below, and I'll make sure you get an invite to our next gathering. And we're looking forward to connecting with you. Cheers, and welcome to the adventure. Start time, I mean, we could kind of play with that. Maybe especially during the summer, because it does get light so early.
Yeah.
Now, maybe in December, starting at 7:30 and it's dark and you're going, why are we doing this right now? Maybe a different story, but we could always make those adjustments too.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, so this presentation is a little, it was kind of tough to put together actually, because there's so much brought up for interpretation and everything, because everybody has their own opinion on certain things. There's certain things that, you know what, I'll just get into a couple of the videos and then we can talk a little bit more about it and have a subject rather than me bringing stuff up and then have them just bring up the same thing. So, you know, when you talk about hiking gear, hiking and backpacking gear, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. You could bring a lot of stuff. And you could probably justify bringing everything somehow. It's like, oh, you know, because what if this happens? Well, what if we'll overload your pack every trip? So you have to kind of be careful with, well, what if it rains? Well, what if a meteor, hits me? Or what if, right?
There's dark zombies.
There is a level of risk that you're going to have to weigh on, going and, what if I see Sasquatch and my phone is dead? Well, then, do I take all this extra backup stuff just for that opportunity? So there's a lot that you have to kind of weigh. And I think the more experience that you get, I'm still learning stuff that, okay, this is the last trip I'm going to take that thing, because that what if has never happened. So I think it's a learning experience, and shouldn't beat yourself up over it. But we're going to get into talking about, first of all, shoes, feet type, understanding your foot type. And there's a lot of stuff to take into consideration, your walking styles, and that sort of thing. I think your body weight has a lot to do with this too. If you're really slight and lightweight and things like that, I think obviously there's a lot less pressure on different components of your feet. But like I could lose 20 pounds easy, probably closer to 30. But I've been at this weight for so long, it almost feels completely natural to me. But if I did lose that weight, I'm sure I would love it. That's sort of knowing those kinds of things. And I look at this and what's been, so I've torn all the ligaments out of one of my ankles and I've broken it or fractured it twice. But I've been lucky that it's healed up in really good shape, and I have a hard time remembering which foot it is. And then I've got, my wife, which stepped wrong last October and is still dealing with the healing process of it. So it is, it's an individual thing, and it's taking care of your feet and looking at that sort of how the foot is processed and stuff. And Travis, you might be able to comment more on this, because you a lot of these shoes and stuff that
I'm the Al Bundy of the REI business.
You are. Well,
sorry, doesn't know that comment.
You and Sam and would I used to know a lot more of these back when I was in the mountaineering.
The big thing is people always go, what's the best shoe for hiking? What's the best shoe for running? What's the best shoe for this? There's not the best shoe. It's what fits your feet the best. Honestly, people like I try to convince people to always get ultras because it's how your feet are actually shaped. So I try to do that often. Ultras are not shaped like a round. How do I show this? Like a round tip point here, like a high heel type of shoe, which a lot of running and hiking shoes are shaped like. Ultras are shaped more like a wider toe box, and it actually fits your feet. Your stability comes from the side to side motion of it. So if you look at the B right there on your picture, that side to side motion, because your toes aren't spread out, you start losing it. But because of the B shape right there, you look how wide those toes are, it actually allows you to kind of fit into the shoe and give you more stability when you're hiking. It works out pretty well. But people always say, oh, I have back pain. A lot of times they have back pain because they're pronating one side to the other, and it's pulling their ligaments in your body one way or the other. And a lot of times all they need to do is trekking poles. Trekking poles continuously help get your feet, because your feet have been walking the same way. It's like ingrained, it's muscle memory. That's how your feet walk. It's how each step you take. So getting trekking poles allows you to take some of the strain off and allow you to get your actual gait pattern going well. Sorry if that was a whole tirade. Don't mind me.
No, it's great. I mean, that's what I was hoping to get from you. There's a couple things to it, and it's interesting because I was watching another video when I was kind of putting some of this stuff together, and I didn't put the video in there, but they were talking about how much wearing shoes support your feet. Just the fact you're wearing shoes, not the best shoes or good supporting shoes or proper fitting or anything. They were talking about when you're walking barefooted, there's so many more groups of muscles that become engaged just by walking barefoot, that they were saying you kind of need to ease into it. I go barefooted a lot. In fact, I'm barefooted right now, but just I don't know. I'm outside a lot. I do yard work barefooted a lot. It just is very comfortable to me and everything. But I could kind of see that. I could kind of see how that it would. So then when you do put shoes on, you still have those muscles that are engaged, and they're sort of fit, and they've been used, they've been exercised and so forth. So, but I wasn't even thinking about that too much till I saw this video. So it was kind of interesting. But I think you're right about the best shoe, Travis. And I think there's so many things that we have in our store that people ask for the best. What's the best backpack? What's the best this? What's the best that? And man, you're exactly right. The customer's gonna have to tell me.
So I'm gonna be a sales rep here, because apparently I'm a sales rep. Ultra, for me, the reason you're going off what you were just saying, it's a 0 drop shoe, and most shoes have about an 11 millimeter heel to toe drop, meaning it's at a downward angle like this. So it almost puts you into a high heel form. So you're getting the step pushing you forward, and this is actually keeping you level. It's the 0 drop for me is a much more natural feel. When I wear something like a Hoka or something that's got a ton of cushion, your heel is up 11 millimeters higher than your toe. So you're sitting at this pronounced stage, which for me sets me all off balance. I really just don't like it. But again, some people do.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I could see that. There's so much to take into consideration personally, yourself, and being able to analyze yourself. When I was doing this presentation with the homeschool kids, part of it was I would have them take their shoes off, and I'd flood a little spot of the sidewalk with water and have them walk through it, and then look at their footprints as they come out of it, just to kind of get that top perspective, and they start seeing the different shapes between them and their friends, and not to really prove anything, but just to point out some things that maybe they could talk about and think about when they're just walking. They're walking normal and they could start analyzing their own anatomy there. So kind of interesting stuff. So this kind of jumps into, some of the things that different levels of hiking or walking or even trail running shoes, all the way up to a pretty heavy mountaineering style boot. Now the lightweight hiker up there in the upper left that's the backpacking shoe I've actually been using for the last several years. I absolutely love it. And it's because it fits my feet, especially oboes in the wide. If I get a wide, I've taken them right out of the box and gone out for a week with them. And they've been just fantastic. But that's just for me. The next person could get those things and just say, oh my gosh, I need to return these right out of the box. So it is a personal thing, and you just never but it kind of gives you a little bit of the anatomy of these boots too, lower and lighter weight versus a little bit higher and heavier constructed as you go on your way up. And they're going to serve all these completely different purposes too. But there was a couple pretty decent videos I threw together that just kind of gets it in touch a little bit more.
Hi, my name's Liv. I'm often asked if someone would be able to go backpacking or hiking in their trail runner shoes, and the answer is absolutely. So today we're just going to take a little bit of time to talk about the differences between hiking boots as well as trail runners. So some of the benefits that you might notice for hiking boots are that you've got a much more durable and stable made shoe. It's constructed in a way that's able to keep off and wick away moisture, mud, snow, any elements that you might be encountering on the trail, as well as some stability for your ankle and your foot in general. When it comes to the benefits of trail running shoes, you've got a couple options. There's a lot of versatility in what's on the shelf for you, and you can go with a lighter shoe that's going to have a lot more breathability and ease of use for your simpler hikes. Or you can go with something that's a little bit more rugged. It's got some support to it there, and it's also going to breathe a whole lot better than most hiking boots and backpacking boots, but it's got enough structure for it that you can take it off trail if you need to. It can hold up to those roots a little bit better. You've still got something that's extremely lightweight, that's very breathable for those hotter days, as well as something that's going to give your feet a little bit more range of movement there. Now to some of the downsides of hiking boots. So you've got more of a break-in period with these guys here. You've got to give them some time to get comfortable on your feet in whichever situation that you'll be dealing with. And you've also got a substantially heavier boot when compared to trail runners. As far as the cons for trail running shoes, you've got to deal with a shoe that's not going to have the same amount of life as far as years or trail miles as most hiking boots will. And you've also got a shoe that's not going to have as much support for you. So with all of that information, what it comes down to is, what are you doing? If you're going to be doing something that's a little bit more burly and you're going to have a heavy pack on your back, 40, 50 pounds, and you're cranking out those miles going far and high, if you will, go with a hiking boot. You're going to get that stability in there. You're going to have your ankle protected against any kind of damage or injury that might happen to occur, as well as you're going to be able to get a lot of years of use out of these guys. When it comes down to, you just really want to get out there, go fast, go light, you're not carrying a whole lot of weight on your back, go with a trail running shoe. It's going to be able to get you there farther and faster. At the same time, if you can make it work, have both. They're both going to work out for you depending on what you're doing, and that's what it comes down to here. If you are happening to lean on the side of hiking boots, we've got a tutorial video for you that can show you how to break these guys in, as we discussed. Maybe you're erring on the side of going with something that's a lot lighter weight. We can show you how to fit your running shoes in the video that's coming up next. Thanks, guys.
So just kind of running through some basics. I'm going to roll right into the next video here, and then we can talk a little bit more about, kind of jump into the critiquing of everything.
Finishing a walk or a hike with feet that still feel great is the job of hiking boots. Let's look at the three things that matter most. There's the support the boots give you, the materials that it's made of, and how the boots fit your feet. This information is key to your comfort on the trail. Most support comes from the underfoot midsole of the boot and the cuff that wraps around the ankle. Boots with stiffer midsoles give more support and protection to the soles of your feet from rocks and roots poking up from the trail. And as the cut of the boot gets higher, it naturally gives your ankle more support from twisting and bending. When it comes to materials, a lined boot with water resistance is great for rainy conditions or for crossing streams, while a more breathable boot will be better for keeping cool in warmer weather. As far as weight, softer and lighter weight boots are often the most comfortable right out of the box and won't tire you out on longer hikes. But for heavier loads, burlier, stiffer materials give you more support and last longer. Just be sure to break them in before your first big trip. The fit of a boot is actually the most important aspect. No boot is ideal if it doesn't fit well. They need to hold your foot securely in place and not let your heel raise up as you step. At the same time, your toes must have wiggle room so they don't hit the front as you go down hills. Going downhill with a pack on will push your toes forward, and you don't want them hitting the front of the boot, so wiggle room for your toes is a must. A good fit will help avoid blisters and keep your feet happy, especially as the amount of gear you carry gets larger and you go on longer hikes. So come in to any REI and ask questions and get the boots that are right for your next adventure.
All right. So yeah, that was just kind of some basic stuff. And really that's sort of what we're all about, really, is just getting the information, somebody wanting to get out maybe for their first trip, or even understanding, backpacking, hiking, what do I need? What do I need to kind of think about? And so it's just sort of some, and like Travis, you touched on this too, and they reiterated it, is no hiking shoe is going to work well if it doesn't fit right. It's all about fit. It really is all about the fit. You can have the wrong shoe, and if it fits right, it's probably going to be okay for you, to an extent. So
something I emphasize a lot when people, especially with very new hikers that are just getting in, usually like, I'm going to Yosemite for the first time tomorrow. Like, oh, great. But what ends up happening is, like, should I go boot or trail runner? Because I heard trail runners are much lighter, easier to use, and you don't need to break them in. I'm like, that is very true. But because you are a new hiker, your muscles and strength of your ankles isn't as good. So I'd probably recommend a higher boot because you have a more chance of rolling your ankle when you're out there for the first time, because your legs aren't strong enough to go hiking like that. So I do emphasize, like, some shoes are lightweight and still have ankle support. So ankle support when you're a new hiker is so much more important. When you have more miles on your legs, your ankles can support yourself and not roll, which is another big component to it too.
Well, you're right. And something that at least this was, I think it was during one of our clinics, and Janice, it actually might have been at Robbins. I can't even remember. But we had a sales rep came in, and we were talking about backpacking boots, mountaineering boots, hiking shoes. Back then, the low, lighter weight hiking shoes were coming out. I remember the old Nike Lava Domes and things like that. And they talked about the ankle support is actually more about the heel cup and that versus the height of the shoe.
Correct.
And I always thought, well, that's fascinating, because you would think that this higher shoe that you crank around your ankles, and it's basically just create this leather cast that has a sole to it.
Unless you're wearing mountaineering boots, it's not giving you much ankle support to begin with. People just think it does, and it gives them that mental support.
Yeah, and that's so that I kind of recall, and I read relive that a little bit. And it's like, so I've actually used a lot of lower hiking shoes, backpacking shoes, and I've carried loads with them. Cautiously. I don't go out with a 40-pound pack on a pair of lower hiking shoes and start cranking up, some cross-country route or whatever. But I kind of ease into it, and it's like, wow, you know what? My ankles feel good at the end of the day. My feet feel good. And that's sort of, I guess, your ultimate gauge is if you're able to do everything and you, at the end of the day, maybe your thighs are hurting more than anything else because you've been working hard, but you're actually, your feet and their shoes have been doing their job. So I think ultimately that's what you're looking for in that. Any other thoughts? Anybody else have any ideas or kind of experiences that you guys have got?
I always just thought that sorry, go ahead, Travis.
Oh, not me.
But that's I was just gonna say, Travis knows my issues with shoes. I've told him before, but I just wish there was somebody somewhere who would map out the footprint of every shoe that's on the market. Because I feel like that's the thing for me is I have wide feet, but it's only out towards my pinky toes. So when I wear Ultras, for example, I have a good 1/2-inch gap inside of my shoe next to my big toe that just makes my shoes feel clunky, but my pinky toe is still pressed up against the side. Oddly, people say Salomon's are narrow, but the only comfortable pair of shoes I've ever had were a wide fit Salomon, what are those, the SA Pro?
Mhm.
But yeah, I wish there was because I have the same issue with cycling shoes. It's just, you don't know, especially I don't know anywhere locally where you can try on a bunch of cycling shoes. There's just not a lot of inventory. And so you just have to do online purchases and you have no idea because you can't see the shape of the sole of the shoe. And so I wish there was more of a thing where you could see what is the shape of a shoe for the shape that your foot has. Because I know what my foot's shaped like. I know what I need. I just don't have any clue how to find a shoe that fits that.
Yes, it sounds like the shopping part of it. You know what you want. It's just,
How do you get that?
I've got to weed through 1,000 different models to find that thing that I want. Yeah, that's a tough one, Kyle.
It's right now I'm wearing sandals and my pinkies are hanging off the edge. Just how my feet are.
Yeah. I'm not even
No,
sure.
I think sorry.
Go ahead, Travis.
I think Travis, you and actually Sam C both mentioned the Topa or Topo.
Topa, yeah. But I think I showed you though in the back warehouse up in the footwear that there's that page that shows you what the shape of the interiors of the boxes are. Right? Isn't there? Didn't I show you that?
Maybe, I don't think so.
Okay, then if you work today or tomorrow or whatever, come talk to me. We'll figure that one out. There should be a thing upstairs in the footwear warehouse.
Right on. Yeah, what's up, Janice?
I lost my train of thought.
I know. I got intrigued with Kyle's situation. I'm really want to try to figure out a solution there. But man, I guess finding that one brand or even, especially model that really lays it out is, and then buy 20 pairs of them. So I don't know. But
Hope the phone doesn't wear out.
yeah, right. Exactly. Interesting. All right. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about clothing. I think I think this thing's kind of a little bit on the long side, I think, but we'll talk a little bit more about the guy had a lot of interesting stuff. Some of it was pretty good. Some of it's sort of debatable, but
Do you ever find yourself at the start of a walk wondering if you have the right gear on for today? Are you going to be warm enough or are you going to be too cold? Have you got the right stuff? Will the outfit you have on hold up to today's walk. Today we are looking at potentially the perfect hiking attire. I'm going to break down the essential hiking wardrobe from underwear to raincoats. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to reveal which items I think you should buy first to maximize your hiking experience. Hi everyone, Mauser here, and in today's video, we're tackling a crucial aspect of hiking: what to wear. From temperate forests to rocky peaks, we're covering it all. So let's dive in and ensure your next hike is comfortable and memorable. Now, before we get into it, the first thing we need to understand is the no cotton rule. And why have we got the no cotton rule? Well, cotton is widely regarded as a very poor fabric to make hiking clothing and to wear hiking. And there are a few key reasons for this. Firstly, its properties of moisture retention and slow drying. Cotton absorbs and retains a significant amount of moisture. So if you're sweating, if it's raining, it's going to really struggle to shed that moisture once it absorbs it. Now, not only does this make the material heavier, it also leads to a much longer drying time than some other fabrics. Now, in hiking scenarios, especially in cold and windy conditions like I often see, this can be really problematic because it can rapidly draw heat away from the skin, leading to a cooler body much quicker, a cooler skin temperature. And this could potentially lead to hypothermia. Now, for those who don't know, hypothermia is when your body is losing more heat faster than it can create heat. So your body temperature plummets. It's a life-threatening condition. And you definitely don't want that when you're out in the middle of a hike in the backcountry somewhere. You don't want hypothermia. The other reason is that when cotton becomes wet, it becomes extremely heavy. If you've ever accidentally ended up in the water, fully clothed, fully dressed, you've accidentally fallen in, whatever, you've jumped in for a bit of a laugh, then you'll know when you get out, if you're wearing cotton clothing, it is extremely heavy and very hard to maneuver and get around in. That is another reason we wouldn't take it hiking. It's also very bulky, doesn't pack down that small. It's not a good fabric for hiking. So if you're new to this whole hiking game, I hear you saying, well, what should I be wearing, Mauser? What materials should I wear? What are the ideal materials? Thanks for asking. Now we'll dive into some specific pieces of clothing in just a moment, but first, what materials should they be made of? The ideal materials for hiking clothing should primarily focus on moisture management, durability, and breathability. So here are a few examples, some common examples of materials used in a lot of hiking gear today. First up, you've got synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon. These are lightweight, they are quick drying and have great moisture wicking capabilities. Moisture wicking, what's that you say? It's where they draw the water away to the outer edge of the fabric from the skin, so they're drawing water away from the skin, basically, is the most basic sort of explanation. These are also quite durable materials, making them perfect for rugged terrain. Another material is merino wool. It's a soft material, it's got natural breathability, and it also has those moisture wicking abilities as well. Merino wool effectively regulates body temperature and doesn't create much of an odor when you've been wearing it for a while. So it's fairly ideal for when you're out hiking. Thirdly, a material called polypropylene. Now this is often used in a lot of base layers, a lot of thermals, that sort of thing, and it is lightweight and quick drying. It's also really good at wicking moisture away from the skin, and it is less absorbent than things like polyester. It's also meant to have low thermal conductivity, so it's good on cold nights. It's not going to pull that heat away from the skin when you're wearing it close to the skin. It's just going to sort of keep it trapped in there. It doesn't transmit the heat. And lastly, a very popular material in hiking circles is Gore-Tex. If you haven't heard of Gore-Tex before, it is a high performance material. It is waterproof, it is breathable, and it is ideal for sort of the outer shell for your wet weather and rain gear. And it's breathable in that it allows sweat to escape, but doesn't let the rain in. That's the most simplest explanation of Gore-Tex. And as I have said before in many videos on this channel, including this one, where I go into some of the features of my Gore-Tex jackets and gear, it is a great material for hiking and very, very durable. Now, obviously, selecting the right materials for your hiking clothing is going to depend on a lot of factors, including the specific conditions you're going to be encountering, the weather, the terrain, and of course, the intensity of your hike. So, depending on the walk you're going on, you may choose different products, different clothes for different walks. But today, we're going to look at my general kit that I take on pretty much every walk and what I wear when I'm on the track. And we're going to have a look at each product, each thing I use, and at the end, I'm going to sort of go through what I would buy if I was starting out again, first off. Let's go. So first up, we're going to get right into the nuts and bolts, so to speak. Don't mind if I do say so myself, underwear. We're looking at my underwear, believe it or not. You never thought this would happen, did you? So it's a tough one for me, underwear. I've always found it hard to find the nice fitting underwear that I find comfortable, that will last for days on the track. Because when I'm out for 9 or 10 days, I want something that generally I might take 1 or 2 pairs of underwear. That's it, probably 2 for a 10-dayer. But ones I have worn a lot the last few years are the Saxx SAXX brand of sort of boxer briefs. These ones are the Kinetic HD boxer briefs, and they're generally what come with me on every walk. I will wear them pretty much most of the walk. Then of an evening, I will freshen up and I might have these as a backup pair of undies if I need them. And these are my icebreaker undies. These are just the Cool Light undies. Bit worse for wear these days after some solid days in the trail, but they're a woolen blend undie as well. Those are just like a polyester or something. I found them very comfortable, very good, but it's a personal preference. There's lots of brands out there. Would love to know if anyone else has some really good undies that work well for them. Again, I try to avoid cotton undies. I have been known to wear cotton undies occasionally on day walks, things like that. I will wear them, but once they get wet, they just don't dry out, and that is most uncomfortable when you're on a hike. Next up, you want some good socks when you're out hiking. I have tried many over the years, and I have also gone into that on this video up here where I went into my socks that I've used over the years. But the ones I'm currently using are the Silverlight socks. They're a great blended sock. They are very comfortable. They've got silver infused in them to prevent odor, that and bacterial infection, that sort of thing. And I'm really liking these since I found them. I've been through lots of socks over the years, but they are my go-to sock these days. I wear them summer, winter, whatever. If it's cold and snowy in the middle of winter, I might take a much thicker pair of woolen socks, something like the Smart Wool socks, but they will come with me pretty much on every hike, those ones, and I'll wear them every day. For a 9 or 10 day hike, I would take 2 pairs, but that would be about it. For a 3 or 4 day hike, I'd probably still take 2 pairs. Overnight, I pretty much take 2 pairs all the time, just in case I fall in a cold river or something and I need spare socks, but they're a good one. But in general, opt for a wool or synthetic blend of socks. Check that video out and you can see in more detail which socks I use. On the feet, we're not going to go into the boots and stuff today, but I tend to wear boots. I've said that before. Trail runners are fine if that's your thing. If you've got experience and you're out there using trail runners, that is not a problem. I have just moved over to a new boot. I'm yet to fully test them, but give me a couple of months and the Lowa, is that how you say it? Lowa boots. These ones are hardcore. They look awesome. I've worn them a few times already. They feel really good, and I've opted for a bit more room in them. I've gone a size up than what I normally would because I've had blister troubles in recent times. I will review them in a few months and let you know how they go. But again, if you prefer a trail shoe, if you're a trail runner, I do lots of trail running and I definitely love my trail runners, but having broken my leg before, boots are my go-to. Now, depending on where you're hiking, the other thing with footwear is that you will often need gaiters, especially here in Australia, in Tasmania, where things can get very scrubby very quickly. Where I tend to go is no tracks. It's extremely scrubby. And I know from experience, if you don't have gaiters, it just leads to your boots just full of lots and lots of crap and just twigs and things, and that is not fun. When you're on a 4-day hike in October in Tasmania and you left your gaiters back in the car and you forgot them, that was not a very nice experience. So they are often a requirement. If you're doing well-formed tracks, that sort of thing, I don't wear them. I only wear them where it's going to be really scrubby. Some people wear them for snake bite protection. That's not a bad reason to wear them, but they can be a necessity sometimes, but then other times not so much. And these ones are just the good old Cedar Summit Quagmire gaiters. That's what I have worn for years. I have tried other gaiters. I've tried many gaiters, but I always keep coming back to the Quagmires. They're just, they're basically indestructible. You'll get a good few years out of them, and they're a good gaiter. Okay, now we've done the sort of the feet and lower limb. We'll look at upper body t-shirts and shirts. Now, you can go for basically anything here as long as it's not cotton, but ideally you want something that is synthetic and moisture wicking, and they'll keep you dry and comfortable. I've been wearing this shirt for many years. That's a Patagonia Air Chaser shirt, something like that. I've got a few different types of Patagonia. Because I use them for running as well, they're the shirts I prefer. So generally that's what I wear. I wear one of my running shirts because they are built to wick moisture and dirt sort of thing. So I've just got many of them because I wear them around the garden. I wear them when I'm doing work. When I am going for a run, I wear them all summertime. Great shirts, and I'll just pick 1 or 2 up every couple of years, and I've got quite a collection of them now. Generally, that's what I wear on every walk. I've tried many other options over the years. I have dabbled in long sleeve shirts before. I have tried this Patagonia shirt for sun protection. It was a good shirt. I've worn it on a few longer hikes. I think the last time I took it was on an 8 or 9 day hike into some really bad scrub. You might not be able to see here, but it's got a few sort of rough partial pulled fabric marks. Is that what it is? Pulled fabric bits. It's a great shirt. I just find I get too hot in these and I sweat too much. They do dry out quickly, but it's a fine balance for me. I sweat a lot on the track, and I end up just using more sunscreen if I have to prevent sunburn. But my mate Bowie has one of these, loves it, wears it still all the time, and that is a good sun protection shirt. You can also roll up the sleeves and button them up. It's got a couple of good pockets in the front, but that was a moisture wicking synthetic shirt. Worked really well. I still wear occasionally, just not as much. Then I also have this hiking shirt, another Patagonia shirt. I love my Patagonia shirts. This is one specific for hiking, which I wore on my most recent big hike to the Western Arthurs this year. And that was a good one. Again, moisture wicking. I wore that because it had a collar just to protect the neck a bit. Again, I don't know if I'm going to bother with this style of shirt anymore. I am probably going to just stick with my t-shirt. I really like that, and when I get a bit cool, I put a thermal on, which is a long sleeve, and will give me that sun protection as well, even on the cool days. Then there are things like the Capilene base layer that Patagonia make, which I have taken hiking in as well, long sleeve sort of option. I found that when that gets wet, it doesn't really dry that well, that shirt there. Capilene meant to dry pretty quick, but didn't find that it was that good. Now, before we move on, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button, and also sign up for the newsletter in the link below, or with the QR code right there, newsletter, sign up. Right, next up, move into the lower body with pants and shorts. Now again, cotton is a no-go here, which means jeans are a no-go. Jeans are generally cotton, you don't want to be wearing them. As a guide, I used to see a lot of people hiking on one of Tasmania's premier tracks on the Overland Track in jeans, and I'd just shake my head. Then you'd see a big rainstorm come in and they'd be drenched for the rest of the trip. Like all this other stuff, you want to look for lightweight, quick drying pants or shorts. Now, in terms of pants, even in the middle of winter, I rarely wear long pants. I prefer to wear shorts, and if I need pants on, I will tend to put my thermal leggings, my long johns on the bottom half with my shorts on over the top. But yeah, generally I wear, and again, bit of a Patagonia boy today, but I wear my Patagonia baggies shorts, very widely available. The baggies, they've been around for years. They are a little heavy, but they dry quick, so I'm wearing them all the time, so that doesn't really bother me. They've got pockets on each side, they've got a drawstring, and they're just a solid, durable short. These shorts have done a lot of walks, a lot. They're looking a bit faded and worn, but they've still got a long time left in them yet. More recently, I have purchased a pair of the Silverlight shorts. I'm trying them out next month on a very big hike. We'll see how they go. They have got the internal, like the Patagonia ones, but these have more of a leg in them, like a form-fitting underpant inside. I don't know what I'll think of that. I've never really liked that in running shorts, but they've got a good pocket on the back too, which I like. We're going to give them a go. The Silverlight socks now have the shorts, so we'll check them out too and see how they go. If I have to wear pants, which the only time I really wear long pants hiking is on a day walk, where I know I'm not going to be in them for days on end. I've got, again, a Patagonia Quandary pant here, I think that is. Look, they're synthetic, they're comfortable, they're quick drying. If you use hiking pants, I'd love to know what you're using, because I'd like to try some more out. You know, when I head out on winter trips and stuff, that would be good. But just, I look for something synthetic, quick drying, moisture wicking, all that. And that's basically the only pair I've ever really worn, because I'm always wearing shorts. If I have to put pants on for scrub, for bushwhacking, that sort of stuff, I will wear my waterproof pants, which we'll go into in a sec. And again, this is all stuff. Generally what you're seeing here is stuff I will take on a day walk, and even a 9 or 10 day walk. It's the same kit pretty much, because where we hike here in Australia, in Tasmania, you can get 4 seasons in one day. You could be hiking in snow, then in 25 degrees Celsius sunshine, half an hour later. It is something that you've got to be prepared for here. So my kit doesn't really change from trip to trip. This is what I take on every trip. So next up is the insulation layer, which is like your warmer sort of jacket or top that you put on. And I've gone into this also before, where I'll talk about my jackets that I prefer. You can check that one out up there as well. That is a pretty popular video about the jackets and synthetic down, that sort of things that I wear. And down is a popular choice. It's lightweight, it lofts up well, and they're a great option. But when you're in wet conditions, like it often is here, once down gets wet, it's not as effective and not as insulating. So these days, I personally prefer a synthetic jacket, and I've got the Arc'teryx Atom LT here, which is what comes on a lot of trips with me. Also use the Arc'teryx Nuclei FL jacket for longer trips, but they're both good options, and that's what I prefer these days. That is always near the top of the pack, ready for me to put on when I stop on a cool day. I want to stop, I want to put a warm jacket on so I don't get too cold, and that will always live near the top of the pack. Great jackets. And this is sort of where the layering system comes in. I use 4 layers. I use my base layer, my mid layer, which is like a fleece, and then I use my insulation layer, which is this one, and then my outer shell or my waterproof layer. And on that note, we also look at the fleece layer. Now, not everyone takes a fleece. I'll generally just take that warm insulation layer and not worry about a fleece because they've got their thermal layer and their insulation layer. I like to also have the mid layer, and that is where something like a fleece like this will come in. That will just be there. I can walk in that and not get too hot. That's why I like that. I get too hot in a thermal jacket like that and an insulating jacket like that. I prefer a fleece. There's not too much to say about fleece. They are been around for a long time. It is pretty durable, pretty long lasting. I've had this one for 7 years or so and it's still going strong. So that's just an extra thing I take personally, and you can pick up fleece these days fairly cheaply and they're going to last you a long time, and you can use them in all sorts of situations. So it's a good option to have one, and you will pick one up hopefully quite cheaply. Next up is the outer layer, your rain protection layer. So these are things like raincoats and overpants, waterproof pants. And like I said at the start of the video, Gore-Tex is a great option here if you can afford it. Gore-Tex is extremely durable. It allows you to breathe. If you're sweating, it will let the sweat out, but it won't let the rain in. But there are many other options out there which are much more affordable. So you don't have to go and buy the latest and the greatest. If you're just starting your hiking journey, get something affordable when you're starting out. You do need a raincoat. You do need some basic overpants, waterproof pants. It's going to make all the difference on those rainy days. Now, when you get into more serious hiking, where you are bushwhacking, where you are scrub bashing, when you're doing that sort of thing, you're going to want to invest in a very good quality outer layer, because it also provides good protection when you're in the scrub, when you're bashing through that wilderness, really thick stuff. You're going to want something that's going to protect you. But if you're just starting out, get something basic, get something that's going to give you good weather protection, but it doesn't have to be anything overly fancy if this is your first walk. And that brings us back to prioritizing your purchases. So where would I invest in my hiking kit, in this clothing kit, if I was just starting out? Well, I'd probably start, and I think I did back in the day, I started with a very good thick insulation layer, good quality, thick insulation layer, warm jacket. That's probably the first thing I would invest a significant amount of money in, is a nice, good synthetic jacket or a down jacket, something that's going to keep me nice and warm when I need it most. I'd also be looking at things like good quality socks, good quality thermals. Well, you can pick up thermals fairly cheap these days. I'd be looking at all those things first, along with my footwear, because you've got to look after your feet when you're hiking. Then after that, I would be looking at high quality rain gear, but I would be concentrating on that stuff that's going to keep me warm first, and starting with that insulation layer. And with a lot of this rain gear these days, you can find something fairly affordable, especially in sales that are often on, without sacrificing quality. So there you have it. If you found this video useful, then you might find this video up here even more useful, where I go in depth into my layering system and what it all means. So check that video out, and until then, I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, lot there. There's a lot there.
There's a lot, but I also, and I mean, I know that this is kind of how it is, but I love that he said, oh, if you're just starting, this is what you should do. And he immediately shows a $375 jacket. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I think we have to kind of infuse where we're at, because yeah, $375 jacket. And now you're renting everything else because you can't, afford anything else. And I think there's a lot of opinions about Gore-Tex. He's very pro Gore-Tex. And there's a lot of different levels of opinion on that. I mean, some people hate it, absolutely, and despise it. I think that's just one of those things where, I don't know, you kind of have to find where first of all, I think you have to look at where you're going. Because I was looking at where they are going, and I would quit hiking. I would not go hiking where they're going. I'm like, if I was walking through that much scrub and all that, that's where you find yourself when you get off trail and lost. You don't intentionally go, this is a trail. So it didn't look very appealing to, but that's me. And mainly because I'm probably very spoiled about a lot of the trails that we have. I mean, we have some stuff that are some of our local trails that are even really, really considered demanding are, you never even touch a bush or a rock or, anything. There's nothing around you. They're just hard. Maybe the steps are hard and the terrain's hard, but boy, you don't have to take a machete or anything. So it's kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, with the Gore-Tex thing too, I think you're right. A lot of it is region. I mean, even in the screenshot that it stopped on, it just looks misty behind it. Like it looks humid. And I remember once seeing a video of a guy who was saying how terrible Gore-Tex jackets were and all this stuff and how you never dry. And that just wasn't my experience. And then I realized that he does most of his hiking in Washington, where he's hiking in the rain for an extended period of time. And I'm like, well, in the Sierras, you get like at most a 2-hour thunderstorm, and that's like the longest. And then it's sunny and you dry out.
That's a really good. That's a really good point too, because the two factors that Gore-Tex is famous for is waterproof and breathability. Well, which component of those is more important to you? If it's rainy, and wherever you're at is humid, and I'm more worried about breathability. And so is it breathable enough? Whereas if you go someplace else, it's like, I don't care about breathability. I just care about being dry. Then shoot, just get a coated nylon. Then it just, something that's completely 100% watertight, and don't even worry about it, and just use pit zips and other ways of venting. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration, and not to say that anything that he was proposing was wrong, other than he, the whole cotton thing, I agree with 100%. I'm guilty of it because, I mean, who doesn't like to wear cotton? But you just have to be careful with it. If you're going to be someplace where it's just warm and you don't care about, sweating and drying and things like that. Well, Kyle, I think on Friday, most of us were wearing a lot of cotton on that bike ride. So, I mean, we weren't really concerned about, all that wicking and all that good stuff. But again, you just have to look at your day, you look at the conditions, and you think about, how that's going to work for us. But any other thoughts on any of that stuff? What do you have to say?
I wasn't familiar with that last material he mentioned. I don't know if you guys know more about that. I don't know if it's because it's mostly just a cold weather thing. He was talking about it not conducting heat well and being more insulating. It was like the poly something. I'm not familiar with that much.
Oh, like the fleece? Are you talking about the fleece stuff?
It was at the very beginning. He was just talking about materials. After the cotton part, he talked about
polypropylene.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. When he brought that up to me, for that's an old synthetic that Janice will attest to this. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, polypropylene came out. It was a great wicking product, kept you warm. The biggest thing and Janice is going to laugh about this, that stuff stunk.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't wear it very long and it stunk. It was great. And they used to make a lot of kayaking. I don't know how many polypropylene, fleece undergarments that you'd wear under a paddling jacket or, all different types. And oh man, you would have to put that in the trunk of your car going home because it was bad. It was really bad.
And it would never wash out either. It didn't matter
how
many times you washed it. It was there.
No, it's just it was a stinky product. And I as soon as he said polypropylene, I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't bought polypropylene in so long. And so
Patagonia came out with it.
What's that?
Didn't Patagonia come out with it first?
I kind of think so. I kind of think they did. It did a great job, but man, there was a price you had to pay.
That was a one-time wear trip type material.
Exactly.
Disposable polypro.
Unless you hiked alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody has to be wearing polypro, so we all
Yeah,
stick together.
That's right. I'm not going to be the only one in the group.
Is,
Gosh.
I just have slightly a side question, but maybe it comes up with our rain conversation too. Is fleece really common with cold weather rafting? Because I know I've read that it maintains insulation while wet.
Yeah. Yeah, fleece. So it's interesting you brought that up, Kyle, because there is a group that paddlers that I used to, well, I haven't done the Rogue River in a few years, but we used to go and do the Rogue River every over Thanksgiving break. And in Southern Oregon in late November, it's rainy, it's snowy, it's the worst time of year that you could possibly do it. But we would do it every year, and half of us would drive up from San Francisco, half of us down from Seattle, and we would do this. And after a while, the outerwear and all the gear, all the wear that we were wearing while we were doing this, we would wear like Wellington rubber boots. We would wear like fisherman slickers, up bottom and top. And then we would just have layers of fleece underneath for insulation. And it worked great. And it was 100% not breathable. There was no breathing, the breathability of it, we didn't care about. It kept us completely dry. And with that insulation layer, we didn't have to very much up on it. And so it was a great combination. It worked really, really well. But yeah, the fleece works. It works really good. You get some good insulation even once it gets damp and wet, or maybe even your own perspiration gets damp. It still holds that heat and does really well. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that you brought that up about rafting and stuff, because that was sort of the attire that we eventually migrated to, and it worked really well. And
Well, they actually made a paddling sweater that I had at one time. The sleeves were a little shorter and it didn't come down quite as long as a fleece jacket, but it was made to go under all the paddling outerwear, and it was very warm and comfortable.
Was that a Patagonia one? Because I used to have one that was like a 3/4 sleeve Patagonia.
Don't think it was Patagonia. I can't remember, but I just remember it worked really well, and it was kind of a more open weave as opposed to the tighter weave now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Kokatat used to make some of that good stuff, and Stolquist. But yeah, a lot of specialized stuff. And then there's a lot of stuff that I would just use to cross over. Whether it, I could wear it under a paddling jacket. I could wear it under, a shell when I'm hiking, or cycling, or whatever. So a lot of these are crossover garments, and you might see a lot of these fabrics and stuff pop up, whether we're talking about kayaking, rafting, or even cross-country skiing, or, just hiking, and you get out in some cold conditions. And then one of the things that we didn't really talk about too much is wind, is, those shells that really cut down the wind that will really cool you off fast too. Mm-hmm. And I think Gore-Tex does a pretty good job with that. Now, I do know that Gore-Tex, when you start getting into like mountaineering expedition stuff, like big peaks, like, Denali, Everest, K2, all the Himalayas stuff, then you start looking at down suits that have Gore-Tex shells and stuff. And I think that works really well. They get in situations where you're having to cut down with wind, you have to hold heat in, and it's not so much rain, because you're never going to really have the rain because it never gives above freezing. So it doesn't have to shed the water as much. It's more about the breathability and wind protection. And I know back when I was repping for Feathered Friends, everything was Gore-Tex shelled. Even these big expedition suits and stuff like that. And they were some of the best made. So those are all things to kind of factor in where you're going: heat, moisture, cold, wind, and then what's your body doing? Is it expelling? Is it sweating? Do you need airflow? So those kind of things. So there's a lot to take into consideration. Luckily, most of the year around here, it's pretty temperate. I mean, we don't get 40 below zero. You have to get a pretty high and pretty extreme situation to get in that kind of situation. Now it does get hot. You get some of these, but that's a whole different story. Then you're talking about hydration and heat stroke and all that other stuff. So, but that's kind of what I got today. I'm seeing quite a few faces. It looks like it's going to be people to join us on our rafting trip coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. And Kyle, like I was talking to Afton, is we're considering maybe starting these at 7:30 to give everybody, like Travis has to take off, and just everybody to get a chance, make it a little easier to get into the store if you have that morning shift on a Sunday. Tell me what's your thoughts on that? Does that work for you, or?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, but then there's a lot of people that don't join us because we start too early. So, but I don't think we're going to get those people are going to start joining us. But I'm just trying to think of the people that everybody that really tries to make an effort to get here, to maybe make it a little easier for them. I know Sam sometimes is commuting in, try to get there, and maybe that extra 30 minutes might just, that way Travis could sit through the whole thing. And always, everybody else's input is so valuable to this. So something to think about. We'll kind of maybe work on that. Anything else before we get going? All right, guys, take care.
you.
All right,
Dave.
appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you. Have a great day.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Janice. We'll catch everybody. Thank you, Afton. Always good to see you. Take care.